As much as I like penalty kicks and soccer, and my soccer friends all make fun of me for it. But
Oh, are they American soccer friends or are they European soccer friends?
they're Americans who watch.
Then they're
European.
posers.
I'm Arizona Family political editor Dennis Welch.
Dennis, fake news Welch. Try to tell the truth.
And this is the Politics Unplugged podcast.
Dennis, if you have a problem with substance abuse, I am more than willing to talk to you anytime you need.
And welcome back to the Politics Unplugged podcast edition. This week we are going over a whole lot of topics, and here to help try to make sense of this with me is Jaime Molera and Adam Kinsey. Thank you both for being here because there's a lot to get through this week, and let's start with the big election this week. Obviously, it's summertime; it's an off year. We don't see a lot of big high-profile elections, but we saw a Democratic primary down south in CD-7. We saw Adelita Grijalva easily win and take a big step towards filling her dad's seat down there. And Adam, the national media got this one not only a little bit wrong, but a whole lot wrong, didn't they?
In their defense, they didn't know what they were talking about. So, I mean, they tried, but in their defense, they had no idea what they're talking about. So it's a special election. Not a lot's going on. If you are somebody who covers races, so you're gonna cover this one. People wanted it to be a race. They wanted it to be a little more competitive than it was, and they wanted to draw some comparisons between some national races that just didn't quite work. Like, I was talking to a reporter from a national publication who was saying, well, this is much like the New York mayoral race. And I said, how so? Because the young upstart is not the one who has the progressive support that, in the AZ7 race. Adelita had the Progressive Caucus, Bernie Sanders, AOC, Elizabeth Warren. I mean, she had every progressive behind her. She was the progressive choice. So the comparison's a little bit different. Deja, coming in and trying to run the we need change, I think the AZ7 Democratic primary voters want change, but they want the kind of change that Adelita Grijalva brings. They want the kind of change that her dad brought. And
well, they were happy with her dad. I mean, he was he started the Progressive Caucus. He was, always voted that way. I mean, it's just funny to me that you got your start basically in southern Arizona.
Absolutely.
And you're getting reporter-splained by somebody calls you up and is telling you that this race is a lot like New York City.
Yeah, and if you don't understand that Adelita herself has been elected for 24 years, 20 of which to the second largest school district in Arizona, which is a very, very tough place to get elected, that she was elected to the Board of Supervisors, that she served as chair of that board for a while. And the Pima County Board of Supervisors is no joke, by the way. That's a pretty powerful entity. So the fact that she's been doing this on her own for 20-something years is something that people kind of forget. So they say, well, is it just the name? No, it's not just the name. The name certainly helps, but it's also her working her butt off for the last 20 years and building up her own base, her own machine. So those are just things that folks outside didn't quite understand.
Yeah, and as the outsider looking in, I mean, Deja Fox got a lot of attention. I think she deserves credit for a lot of that. And I've talked to a lot of Democrats. Even Adam has said very positive things about Deja Fox. Does she got a future? Does she have a future in electoral politics in Arizona?
Well, I liken it to what we were talking about earlier, how for political pundits, this is also the desert, just like for sports. There's no football, there's no basketball, but there's a special election somewhere. And so they want to have a race. It's kind of like me watching the Savannah Bananas right now.
Yeah,
that's
here we
the
go.
only thing that's on that's entertaining.
Yeah.
So I think they made her out to be a little bit stronger than what she probably was. But having just not knowing this woman, but having seen her and having her speak and perform, fairly impressive. So I wouldn't think that she's going to go away anytime soon. And certainly her social media presence is fairly impressive. But whether it's in that district or maybe it's other areas of the state where she could start to develop herself, I think she's somebody that definitely could have a future.
Yeah, I'm just blown away, too. You got to remind yourself, this is someone who's 25 years old.
Correct.
I mean, when I was 25 years old, I don't even want to talk about it. Let's just make the old standard joke. Let's just say, and when I was 25 years old, thank God there was no social media videos. Not that I was doing anything wrong, but I had to show how stupid I was. But, so we got you on here, Adam. Let's talk a little bit about that social media presence and whatnot. I mean, this is kind of like the future. I mean, we had a couple of pundits a couple of weeks ago talking about the Mondani race. That showed that politics is changing a lot, correct?
It is, but there are some things that are also staying the same. So Mondani also had a huge presence on traditional media, whether it was digital or broadcast.
And a resume.
And message discipline like we haven't seen in that kind of race before. I mean, everybody else was talking about a lot of other things. He, in his paid communications and in his interviews, he was sticking to affordability almost exclusively, and that I think really resonated with the New York voters. But I think Deja, 600,000 TikTok followers, 300,000 Instagram followers, or whatever it is, really impressive stuff. And Democrats are starting to embrace influencers as what they really are, which is surrogates. These are online surrogates, and so I think once we sort of get past the influencing isn't a real thing, which I think too many older folks in both parties really have been sort of demonizing the influencers. Once we get past that, influencer doesn't necessarily make you a bad person, then I think we can start talking about how we can best use these social media platforms. So in Deja's case, she had a really powerful social media presence, which she was able to raise a lot of money from, and she was able to get a lot of interest nationally. It's just that of those 600,000 TikTok users, hardly any of them were probably in the district. And so it probably didn't trickle down. But I think you're going to see more Democrats and Republicans continuing to find people like Deja Fox, who's a very clear communicator, very good on camera, very good at working with the media, obviously. She was able to sell that poll, which, by the way, was a BS poll from the start. It had flawed methodology. It had a voting universe that bared absolutely no resemblance to what we knew were going to be.
Right.
We knew it was going to. And she was able to sell that to every national news outlet and get so many think pieces written about her and so many, she's within the margin stories. And, that's masterful.
But I kind of agree with what Jaime was just saying, too. There was a kind of a rooting for a real horse race.
Yeah, you're not. Yeah, that wouldn't have worked. Yeah, that won't work if she decides to run in the 2026. That's not going to work.
If it's 2026,
there are 434 other races going on.
Yeah, if it's 2026 and that poll gets floated, everybody's like, keep walking. We've seen all this before, but on a slow summer cycle. It
demonstrates real media savvy to understand.
No, there's a talent there.
Yeah, absolutely.
And being a good politician, you got to be a good salesperson.
Sure. Yep.
On this. But let's talk a little bit, Jaime, about every congressperson gets elected. It looks like Adelita is on her way. If she does not win the general special election, something horribly went wrong. Correct. But talk a little bit about being a freshman lawmaker, because these Congress members, they go there, they're going to change the world.
Sure.
They're one of 435, and they're one of a little over 200 in their party. What can they do other than vote the way their bosses tell them to vote?
Unfortunately, not a lot.
No.
And unfortunately for Arizona, and I've said this on many occasions, Arizona used to have a congressional delegation that would punch above their weight. And we had some, on both sides of the aisle, we had some incredible stalwarts that helped drive so many massive infrastructure projects or massive defense. I mean, there's a reason why we have some fairly significant defense bases here in Arizona. And the concern is that we just aren't seeing that right now. Not to say that our congressional leaders can't get to that level, but the way Congress works, it's very much of a seniority. We have two relatively young U.S. senators, right, as far as being there. I think they both have potential to grow, but it just takes a lot of time. And that's one of the concerns I have for our state, especially when there's these fairly significant issues that we're going to be dealing with. I'll give you a good example. This tomato tariff that the administration has just imposed on Mexico. That is incredibly hurtful to our state and people on both sides of the aisle. This is the one time you have Andy Biggs in concert with Katie Hobbs basically saying that they're spinning it differently, but they're both on the same side saying, yeah, this is not good for us. And literally tens of thousands of jobs. Was born and raised, and my family's still in Nogales, Arizona. that city in that area will be devastated if this doesn't get rectified, because the brokerage and the import of those agricultural products is massive. So, but our congressional delegation doesn't have that much of a voice where they can say, no, you're not going to do this. And that's problematic. And that's where we need to really be aggressive.
And they lost some of that voice with Grijalva, because he had seniority.
Right.
And he was on appropriations.
He turned down appropriations because he did not want to give up the chairmanship of the subcommittee on natural resources. Tells you what kind of guy Raul Grijalva was, by the way. Like what a stud. And so, but on that point, and by the way, Democrats are worse at it than Republicans about making everything about seniority, which is a damn shame. And I hope my party rectifies that and starts being a little more open about,
especially with leadership. And they started making moves in leadership, but a lot of folks are saying the job's not done.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at you, Chuck Schumer.
Yeah, exactly. There you go. But there are certain things you can do as a freshman on day one. First of all, you can continue the good constituent services work that your father has done. And I'll tell you, having lived down there, AZ7, the constituent services, very, very important, especially right now with the rounding up, the ICE raids. There's a lot of confusion about immigration status right now, and the way that's been a moving target. So having just somebody in there running the constituent services who knows what they're doing on day one is very important. But number two, you also have things like you can. There's a giant open pit copper mine that has been sort of the black cloud in southern Arizona for 20 years now. Copper World that would be a half-mile wide, mile deep. Open pit copper mine in the side of the Santa Rita Mountains. Raul Grijalva championed against it. Gabby Giffords fought like hell against it as well. And now Adelita is going to pick up that mantle. And so having somebody advocating for you, working with the executive branch such that you can, but asking the questions, demanding the reports and things like that are really, really important. So while she's not going to have seniority on day one, she's got a list of things she's going to do on day one, and environmental protection and fighting for the families in AZ7 are going to be chief among them.
All right, well, let's make the hard pivot then from that to talk about everybody's favorite topic this week, Jeffrey Epstein and the files. If you're not familiar with Jeffrey Epstein and the files, you're probably not a regular listener to this podcast. But if you need a brief recap, I mean, he was a convicted sex offender, hanged himself in jail about 6 years ago, had a lot of rich, powerful friends. And for years now, the Trump administration, Trump himself has been demanding to get the Epstein files released, always hinting that it was Democrats were involved in some sort of cover-up somehow, that this was a Democrat thing. But now that he is in power, he's telling his people, like, there's nothing to see here. It's time to move on. But I mean, here we are in this crazy moment where from discussions of about Russia and his connections back in 2016 through impeachments. This seems to be one of the issues that may be taking more political blood than any prior scandal.
Well, the thing that's so amazing about this, Epstein killed himself in 2019 when Trump was still president, and then they headed into that election, and Trump made this issue. And attacking the Democrats, saying the Democrats have blocked ability to get that kind of information out there. And then, of course, when he was in the wilderness for all those years, continued to pound on this issue every chance he got, criticizing the Biden administration, criticizing the Democrat Congress for really not doing anything. So that's why it was it was incredibly bizarre when that 180 happened, when Attorney General Bondi, who was saying, I have a folder on my desk that names, and I'm going to be going after them. We're going to be very aggressive. And then it just all of a sudden they said, oh, no, no, that's not true.
Yeah.
And so that's why there's something that really goes to the core of a lot of the MAGA supporters. And I think a lot of it is because there's a true belief. I mean, if you talk to a lot of MAGA folks, they believe there is a deep state. And that the reason I think a lot of them are upset with President Trump right now, and certainly with the Attorney General and the FBI director and the Deputy Director, is that they feel like that deep state that corrupted all the Biden administration and corrupted past administrations, even the Bush administration, is now corrupting the Trump administration. And I think that's the rub here, where I think a lot of folks are feeling betrayed. And that's where President Trump, in my opinion, has to be very careful, because if he loses that core base and they don't come out, you mentioned earlier, Adam, about in 2026, that enthusiasm is very, very powerful. That's what gives Trump all that strength. That's why Trump is running over Congress right now, because congressional Republicans don't want to take on that base because they know they'll lose. And you've seen it time and time again.
Well, and if they see any weakness in that, then Trump also, you're talking about electoral politics on one hand, but you're also the congressional politics. If they see that support weakening, they're not going to be as inclined to go along with whatever he says.
Well, look, Trump has been able to tell working class voters, rural Republicans, suburban Republicans, that he is one of them, and that
even Union Democrats,
even some Union Democrats. Right. That's right. There are a handful of those, and being able to tell them, I'm one of you. I'm one of you. So forget the fact that he's probably in the files, probably named. Let's forget. Let's say he's not in the files. What is he protecting? I'll tell you what he's protecting. He's protecting the billionaire class that he is, through his tax policies, is also kowtowing to. These are his friends. These are why he got elected. This was the whole purpose of his ascension to power, was to make life better for the billionaire class. And so that is the bigger danger for his brand, is that if this is the thing that finally exposes the fact, oh, he's not just one of us. He is an absolute elitist. He is one of these, Ivy League, East Coast, that doesn't know how to change a tire, never worked a day in his life outside of the warm embrace of his daddy. I mean, this is the danger this guy really runs, is losing not only the MAGA base who cares about Pizzagate and things like that, but you're also running the risk of losing your entire reputation as somebody who fights for working class people, because clearly if you are trying to protect the billionaires that are probably in that folder, that's not something that anybody is going to buy.
Yeah, and look, I'm not sure I know how to change a tire. I'm 95% sure I can, but I'm not 100% sure. I resent that remark.
It's not very punk rock if you don't know how to change your tire, man. Come on.
But Ruben Gallego,
Dennis always got his girlfriends to change the tire.
Damn right. Oh man, we'll leave that one alone. No. Anyway, so Ruben Gallego introduced a resolution demanding the release of these Epstein files. What is going on here? I mean,
well, it's good politics.
Yeah.
They're just
don't. Are you suggesting that politics is driving?
I know. It's a shock. I'm
that
shocked
raw
that
politics.
the
people have a right to know, right?
Happens in Washington D.C. that politics is a part of this, but it's good politics. I mean, here you have a freshman U.S. senator who's, by and large, considered a fairly good senator thus far. Now, all of a sudden, he's championing the rights of the MAGA crowd, saying that this has to be transparent. So I think it's a deft move on his part, and why not? Why wouldn't he?
It's crazy.
Pushing this.
This is a small sample size, but Senator Gallego is really well liked in some places you wouldn't expect. I had a Lyft driver a couple weeks ago who was a very outspoken Republican and was telling me about all the great things that Donald Trump is doing, and that he, dislikes every Democrat except for Ruben Gallego. And then he gave me 5 minutes. It was a long ride. He gave me 5 minutes on what he loves about Ruben Gallego. And when, and I know it's not a huge number of Republicans, but it's enough. I mean, there are enough Republicans that like Ruben, like how plain spoken he is, like how he can talk about their issues and about, kitchen table issues and working class families. And when you have Ruben Gallego kind of leading a charge and bringing up this vote, those voters, my Lyft driver, I kind of want to go and call him up and say, what do you think about this? You're running the risk of alienating a lot of your voters.
To that point, I think you're absolutely right. I did a lot of work years ago with John McCain, and John McCain would never hesitate to go into South Phoenix or South Tucson or go down to the border or speak to tribal leaders. And Ruben Gallego has those same qualities. He'll go to business organizations. He'll go to the heart of Republican areas in Queen Creek, and he'll go to Sun City, and he's well received, because I just think that's, and it goes back to my point when we used to have elected officials that punched above their weight, but they had that kind of gravitas. And I think a lot of, on both sides of the aisle, leaders could really look at that and really emulate those kinds of things.
Well, and Senator Gallego, I mean, Senator Kelly can do the same thing, and he does. He goes into those areas, and he does really well. He flew 37 combat missions, and was the commander of the space shuttle. So yeah, I mean, yeah. But the fact that then Congressman Gallego, when he was campaigning for the Senate, went into those same spots and was loved. That's really telling. I mean, Ruben's a similar story with his experience in the Marine Corps, but he was also a fairly progressive legislator from Central Phoenix and agitated Republicans an awful lot in his tenure at the legislature. But he still was able to go into those areas and speak and really is well respected, I think, by a lot of crossover voters. And so again, going back to the Epstein thing. The person we couldn't have picked a better person to ask for the vote than Senator Gallego. So this issue's not going away. I think Democrats need to put it away now and just let it play. The story's not dying. No. So from a political standpoint, just let it go. It's too big of a story to just wither.
All right, let's running out of time here. I do want to hit this. Adam, let's talk a little bit about party politics, particularly your party, the Democratic Party, and why they just can't get anything right. They just, it seems like with the party itself, in context is they just voted to boot the chairman out of the office 6 months after he easily cruised into office. But in between that time, he literally pissed off every statewide elected Democrat in Arizona. Probably,
it was all of them. You're right. Yeah, I was trying to think of one that was holding out, but no, all of them.
All of them.
Yeah, that's impressive. Really.
That is impressive.
Here's what happened. So we had a year where we get absolutely shellacked. With the exception of Senator Gallego. Thank you, Ruben. And so the mob is angry. They bring their pitchforks, they bring their torches, and they oust the chair. Not the first time this has happened. I held a pitchfork myself after the 2008 elections.
Oh, nice.
When
I
the
Mad
Viking.
You with a pitchfork.
It was a different time. A different time.
Maybe a scythe.
But we, us coming up from Pima County, we had a gentleman by the name of Paul Eckerstrom, dubbed the Mad Viking, who gave an amazing speech about how we need to do better, and he won. 13 days later, he resigned because he took a look and said, "Oh, this is not just about message guidance. This is about fundraising largely, and a lot of things that I'm not going to be great at doing from Tucson. I think, I've made my point that we need to think differently about how we run elections. I'm going to resign and let somebody else do it." So it's not the first time that this has happened, where a chair has done a good job, but still been ousted just because we had bad election results. So that's what we had here. And what happened with Branscombe was, he kind of showed up and said, okay, we're going to do this, this, and this, and didn't have the self-awareness that Paul Eckerstrom did years ago and say, maybe this is not actually the right fit for me. I don't have, the experience to do this. And he kind of dug in and, got crossways with party staff, party donors, and the elected officials. So there you go. We 6 months later ousted, and the Democrats seem to be righting the ship. And I'm sorry it happened, but at least we figured it out within the first 6 months of the off year.
Well, let me ask you too. I mean, do parties even freaking matter anymore? I mean, we've seen the Republican Party go through this. Parties used to be the controlled the purse strings and could create discipline and keep people in line, but you don't need the party now to go out and get big money. You can find a couple of well-financed funders. You can raise lots of money online from the grassroots. So they've been diluted there. About the only thing I see anymore with the real big benefit of the party is cut your costs on mail.
Correct, and they have access to the voter files
and the voter files.
Those are the big things.
Yeah,
but even with the Republican Party was in disarray, and some would argue still in a lot of disarray here in the state. But those are the functions of a state party. The state party chairman should be a fundraiser, first and foremost.
Yep.
Should hire the people they need to organize, secondly. And then thirdly, be that assistant to the policymakers and to the elected officials, to be that foundation for them to run their campaigns on. But nowadays, on both sides of the aisle, and I've seen this for years, these folks get in as a party chair, and they think they're the elected official.
It's insane.
And they want to make the policy, and they come in.
I mean, I saw the Republican Kelly Ward. One of the first things she did is she goes down and advocates for a tax increase. Remember that? She's down at the Capitol. I was like, my God, my head blew my mind.
You know, my wife served as Arizona Democratic Party chair for 3 years, and most people don't know that when I tell them that, and I say that's because she was a good chair. Because it was not about her. She's not running for office. She never has, never will. That was not what it was about. Let's raise the money. Let's organize. And Jaime's exactly right. I mean, you've got the bulk rate mail permit that you get to use, and you get to organize, fundraising and canvassing operations and everything. But you could absolutely do it aside from the state party. And the Democrats had a plan. I mean, we were going to do, Navajo County was going to run the coordinated campaign instead of the state party. Now it just makes things a little bit easier.
And I also think, too, you'd want a chairman, too, who can spot and identify talent.
Right.
And recruit
candidates. That's the other thing, too.
Because it's like, right. What are you doing?
Right.
I mean, because candidates do matter now. Right. And we're constantly reminded about that. Like, yes, money matters and all that stuff, but Correct. Candidates matter. If you don't believe us, look to Arizona in the past 2 statewide elections and who Carrie Lake ran against.
Correct.
And there's a reason why Carrie Lake didn't win those elections, because candidates matter.
And there's less of that with the state party chair, to be honest. There's more to do with like members of their caucus. They do a lot of recruiting. At the federal level, they can do a lot of recruiting. But you don't see the state party chairs, by and large, do a ton of recruiting for those.
Yeah, but I mean, shouldn't they be creating something like that, like a farm system with like some talent development coaches? They'd be out there with the whistle and like. You know
what the best farm league team is just winning elections. Like 15 years ago we had these conversations. Oh, there's no bench for the Democratic Party. Yeah, because we never won anything. I mean, now our bench is an embarrassment of riches, comparatively speaking. So. Yeah.
But it's true. It used to be where in the party apparatus, you would have a lot of these young guns that would come through that process and really start to become that leadership structure for the next generation. And it doesn't happen as often as it used to.
All right, man. We'll have to end it right there. Thank you, too, for doing double duty. If you're listening to this and you haven't watched the TV show, go back and watch the TV show. Both of these guys donated. Were very generous with the time they donated here today. So thank you, guys. We'll see you next time. Welcome back to the second half of the Politics Unplugged podcast. As always, Colin Stanton, the producer extraordinaire, joining me here to to talk about what we just listened to, what he just heard. Anything stand out to you? Adam, Jaime, two great dudes. Glad they could stop by here.
That was a great talk. Interesting hearing Adam say that at this point, Democrats with Epstein should just sort of back off and let it play. Just watch it go. Just take the popcorn and see where it leads us.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't seem like Democrats have to add any fuel to the fire. It seems like there's plenty of fuel.
Yeah. I mean, when you spend years telling your MAGA supporters about how this is central to the deep state that you're taking down, and then you're spending your time at 3 a.m. sending out Truth Social posts, just saying in all capitals, "Stop talking about Epstein."
I feel like
it'd be a problem.
I feel like it's been a while since we've seen this kind of playbook from Trump. Like, you got to go back to 2016. Like the Billy Bush stuff, to go back and really see the way because there's anger, there's denial, there's 20 different versions of a story he's throwing out there now.
This is the type of thing where I think you sort of need some finesse to get out of it, and finesse is not really a Trump thing.
I don't know. Finesse.
Trump is more of a shout at you to stop talking.
Yeah, finesse is. I don't. What kind of finesse gets you out of this? Unless and he has ordered Pam Bondi to release some documents. I just don't know if that's going to be enough.
I don't know if that's going to be enough. I think if you're going to get out of it at this point, you start releasing stuff that's redacted within an inch of its life, and it's going to piss people off. But it may take enough of the pressure off.
Will it?
I don't know. I'm not saying it will. I'm saying that's probably your best bet. It's a pretty bad situation if you're Trump at this point. Because you've been threatening to release this. You've been begging for this stuff to be released. Now you're in a position to release it. And you're saying, stop talking about it. And now people are starting to pay attention to the fact that, like, He and Epstein were pretty tight.
I mean, they were tight. And when you're dealing with conspiracy theorists, too, everything points to more conspiracy.
Yes. Yes.
And if you release these documents and they don't contain a client list or whatever people think are in these files, it's more evidence of a cover-up.
Yeah.
I mean, he should know. Anybody who gets in bed with this crew should know that.
Yes. But they needed the votes.
I guess. Lie with dogs, I suppose.
Yeah. The whole thing's just been amazing to watch unfurl, along with the latest Wall Street Journal stuff. And you can cry all you want about the left-wing media being out to get you and the hoax and all this. Now Rupert Murdoch's coming after you.
Yeah. Yeah, that Wall Street Journal was just absolutely amazing. A quick recap on that is this is a story that shows a much tighter relationship between Epstein and Trump than Trump has been saying recently.
Yes.
Recently, over the past several years, actually, Trump has been saying he didn't know him very well. He wasn't a big fan, I think he said at one point.
Although at one point he also did say that that Epstein was a great guy and they had a lot in common. They both loved beautiful ladies, and Epstein likes them on the younger side.
Yeah, well, this Wall Street Journal story writes and says and accuses Trump of signing Epstein's 50th birthday card back in 2003.
Yeah.
And it's described as an interesting word, body, a body, greeting on this card, signs it, and writes some other things in this. And basically what it shows is there's a much tighter relationship there, and also hints at some other things because he was writing that, keep on having wonderful secrets.
Yeah, here's to more beautiful secrets. Something like that.
Yeah, yeah.
He also, on his birthday greeting, someone had drawn a naked woman with a Sharpie.
Yes.
With the heavy suggestion that the Sharpie would certainly indicate that might be a Trump thing because he uses Sharpie for everything. And Trump's response to that was that I don't draw pictures, which is funny because he's auctioned off his drawings before.
Well, that's funny, and it's like the thing too is when he there was the doodle of the naked woman, and apparently the signature was below the waist, to signify a woman's pubic hair.
That would be the indication, yes, yeah.
Which I got to share this with you. I won't say who sent this to me, but I woke up this morning and someone was texting me. He just texted me this quote. Hearing Wolf Blitzer say pubic hair is really making my day.
Yeah.
I mean, here we are, man.
I can see Wolf all wide-eyed as he sees that coming up on the prompter.
Here we are. He just keeps taking us the president keeps taking us places we never ever thought we'd be.
Yeah.
And according to the Wall Street Journal reporting, there was also, Trump took a stab at being a playwright or something. He wrote a make-believe conversation between himself and Epstein.
Yeah, it was weird.
It was really strange. Well, that conversation, the internet needs to do a dramatic reading of that back and forth.
Oh, God.
Get it done.
Yeah.
Now.
Thank you for not suggesting this before we taped. I need to be a part of that.
Next week, you and I, maybe we'll do a dramatic reading of the imaginary conversation.
We'll yeah.
If there's not one on the internet by then, it needs to get done.
Yeah.
But this is like, jokes aside, this is like a serious political issue for Donald Trump. I've never seen anything where his base has reacted like this.
Yeah, and it one thing that's odd is that Trump has played it up so much up until now, and now he's not. But the playing it up when there's so much pointing to him in this, I don't know if he's on the list or not, but sure, a hell of a lot of photos, the two of them together, and he's on record, I think it was with the New Yorker years ago, years before he was running for president, talking about what a great guy Epstein was. And Epstein allegedly told a biographer years ago that Donald Trump was his best friend for a decade. Kind of weird for Trump to play it up as hard as he did, and now finally going, stop talking about it. Stop asking questions.
You know, and it'll be interesting over the weekend to see how MAGA world reacts to the latest. See how they react to the Wall Street Journal, because you can make an argument, and I kind of buy into this, that once the Wall Street Journal published this piece, and I know it's Rupert Murdoch, and I know it's the right, it's conservative media to some extent, but it could help Trump. It gives him a familiar enemy to focus on.
Maybe, and I know Steve Bannon is out there today telling people that this is great. This is finally unified MAGA behind Trump on this issue, and it's going to go away now. And I mean, maybe I'm not one to predict how that stuff's going to play out.
No, and
it's still a Rupert Murdoch publication with something fairly damning of linking Trump to Epstein.
Yeah.
I don't really see how that becomes the tipping point that saves him, but I don't understand a lot of this. So.
Yeah, I mean, stuff like this, it just feels like we live in a world with a bunch of knuckleballs. You just don't know where it's going to go.
Yeah.
So
I'm not also going to lean too hard on Steve Bannon for analysis of anything. So there's that.
Not a fan?
No, not a big fan.
All right, man. Let's end the week on a positive note with the Phoenix Suns.
Quasi
Positive. I mean,
they did what they had to do, I think.
Which is good.
Yeah, it is.
Let's be clear. I mean, I think I have said that the number one goal, I think on this podcast, said their number one goal should be to get out from underneath the aprons.
Yes.
And they did that, right?
They got underneath. Yes, the Beal buyout, not only from my understanding, gets them out of the two punitive aprons, but they're under the luxury tax now. And the estimate I heard is this saves Matt Ishbia $175 million this coming season. And that's not counting the flexibility that it allows you. And they screwed up to get in the position they are. And this is a fairly painful way to get out of it, but it probably is better than what they had.
Mm-hmm.
They can make moves now that they absolutely could not make while they were over the second apron. I'm not sure bringing Beal back and fulfilling the contract was a doable situation.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he probably gets booed at every game and frankly doesn't really deserve that.
No, I mean, I kind of felt bad for him because he seems like a pretty decent guy. Seems like a really good guy, actually.
Yeah. I mean, he made some comments along the season about, like, hey, I'm holding the cards. This is how it's going. Tough. That I think annoyed some people, but were at the same time absolutely right. You give a guy no trade clause. Don't complain when you can't trade him.
Yeah. But I think you're right. I mean, getting out from it was the most important thing to do. Is this a team that can win 30 games? Maybe. But it gets you out from underneath that, and you can start making some moves next year.
Yes. They're hampered by the fact that they've got $20 million in dead weight sitting on their books for the next 5 years that counts against the cap. So that's not great. At the same time, they can make trades much more easily. They can sign people much more easily. Their ability to change things is good. They've got some good young parts. None of them really seem to fit to me right now. So I'm curious to see what they do before the season actually starts, because Devin Booker and Jalen Green are the same type of player. And if you're starting both of them, so you've got Booker at point guard, which no one likes.
Mm-hmm.
I hope they make a few other changes. I love the Dylan Brooks edition. I know everyone hates Dylan Brooks, and
It gives them some toughness. It gives
Yeah.
them something they hadn't had since Jay Crowder was part of the team.
I mean, if he's not on your team, you hate him because he's an asshole.
Yeah, I like those kind of players when they're on my team.
Exactly. And what they needed more than anything, I thought, last year was an asshole.
Oh.
They had a bunch of guys who came across as really easygoing and
Too cool for school, man.
they're just a bunch of ballers out there balling. And I mean, Kevin Durant's an all-time great, still playing at a very high level. You don't really get the feeling of intensity from him. Never got that from Booker. Didn't get it from Beal, particularly when he was sitting in street clothes at the end of the bench half the time. So, having an agitator who can actually play and is a good defender out there, I think is great. And it's worth saying, as much as we've sort of bagged on the front office and ownership over the last few months, and the hire is still weird for the GM, keeping all that in mind, I like what they've done so far.
Yeah.
Like I said, I think the team is imbalanced and they need to make some other deals. But I think they did about as well as they could from the Durant trade. I think the Suns have had a history of just horrendous draft picks, and I really like what they did. Come on, Malawach has looked really promising in the summer league. He's not there yet, but he's a guy with a good motor and good size with skills who's 18 years old.
I know. It's just crazy to me. These kids are so damn young, man.
I didn't see much of Rasheer Fleming, the first guy they took in the second round. The other second round pick, Kobe Brea, looked absolutely great and like an absolute steal where they got him.
Okay.
And he was the best 3-point shooter in college the last couple of years.
I love it, man. I love that you watch the summer league, so I don't have to.
I'm a sicko for this stuff, man. I mean,
for people who don't know, pull back the curtain a little bit. You go to the
G League
the
games.
G League games.
Went to probably 8 to 10 G League games last year.
Yeah.
So I'm the guy at home watching the summer league game, going, "Hey, they got Moses Wood in."
I do love to, and we particularly love to. I mean, we did a little bit of bashing on the national media on the political level, but on the sports level, it's even worse. All the overreaction and the hyperventilating over stuff that happens in the summer league. Because I probably read more about it than I watch summer league stuff, and it's just like it's eye roll after eye roll, dude.
There's always an initial overreaction. People were kind of like down on Cooper Flagg after his very first game, and then the next game he comes out and he has 31 points in 31 minutes.
Yeah.
And I mean, 2 years ago, it was Victor Wembanyama who didn't play very well in his first game. And then the second game, he's destroying the competition.
Yeah.
It's, the summer league is a fun way to see some young guys who are trying to make the team and see what they can do. It's your first chance to see, come on, Malawach and Cody Brea playing.
It's like if you're a big baseball fan, like go out to the fall league.
Exactly.
It's September, October, or whenever. Like, and go out there, and you're watching the next generation of great basketball players. Yeah. Now, the 80% in the summer league, for understand, they're not going to 85%. They're not going to be in the league next year. But you do see the Cooper Flaggs. You do see the younger version of some of these people that they expect to be stars. And it's in Vegas, so there are worse ways to spend your time than.
I've got to get over to it. I mean, they have two gyms that are connected with games going on constantly all day.
Oh, you'd love that.
Great. Yeah.
You'd be in heaven, man.
Yeah. And yes, you see a few guys. I mean, Malawach will be in the regular rotation for the Suns. I think Kobe Brea probably will be. Like I said, I barely saw Rasheer Fleming. He'll get some playing time. Ryan Dunn was there. Also, Iguodala was there. They looked really good.
Mm-hmm.
Particularly Dunn, I thought looked great. And there's some guys who may catch on here and there. So we'll see. Yeah, it was fun. Overall, I don't know that the Suns are going to be any better this coming season than they were, but I think they're going to be a hell of a lot more fun to watch, and they have something to build from now. And you're not looking at a roster where it's like, oh my God, what are they ever going to do about this?
Yeah,
they've done it. They're moving on. Let's see what they got.
It was just joyless kind of basketball.
It
was like an obligation to. It felt like they were just punching clocks.
Yeah.
And I think that frustrated a lot of the fans out there. And I think that this team, again, they'll be, 30, 35 wins. I think 35 wins is probably far too optimistic with a team like this.
Particularly in the West,
yeah.
which is absolutely loaded now.
It's stacked. And then, so at least I think you could sell this brand of basketball and this team to some fans that are desperate to see a team that wants to play.
Yeah. They're going to be fun, and there's something to be optimistic about, which last year's variation didn't really give you that.
Yeah. Well, other than that, man, anything else you want to get off your chest this week?
No, I don't think so. Probably go in the Diamondbacks game tomorrow, try and get that Marte bobblehead.
Oh, that's a great bobblehead. Great player. I'm really hoping that they can go 8-0 before the trade deadline.
That'd be nice.
I'd hate to see them. I like this team, and I don't want everybody's talking about it. They're going to be trading off some of these players, and I get why they got to do it. But man, I like I like rooting for this team. I like the personalities on this team, and
yeah, I know. I keep seeing them listed as sellers, and I hope they're not.
I hope they're not either, and I hope they get their ship in order. Otherwise, once again, I'm putting all my eggs in the Arizona Cardinal basket, and that's not smart, dude.
Never is.
Never
is.
Never is smart.
Don't be fooled by that 5-0 start. That turns into 8-9.
If only Kyler could grow a couple inches.
Yeah, again, tough one to hang on to.
All right, man. I hope everybody has a great, wonderful weekend. We'll see you next week.
See you next week.
Thanks for listening. You can subscribe on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, the Google Store, or anywhere else you get your podcasts. See you next time.